Hey,
How
Ralph.
you doing?
That's it. Another day waiting for the governor to give us more opening.
Yeah, would you hearing anything on
Well,
next phase?
they closed down the 25% in the restaurants on Thursday.
What does that mean?
They postponed it indefinitely.
Oh, they were going to allow indoor, right?
Yeah, and I guess down the shore was too much of a scene this last weekend, and Governor Murphy made a decision that it's nobody's doing the social distancing, so he said indefinitely let's not do indoor. I guess the virus travels differently indoor than outdoor.
Yeah, I think that's right, or so I've heard, or who the hell knows, or any one of those three things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went for a physical today, and I was just telling the doctor like whatever, and he was explaining to me from his point of view and how like this thing doesn't attack your lung so much as the blood vessel around your lung. And he says it doesn't even matter if you're a strong immune system. He says what happens is your immune system doesn't stop fighting it. That's what fucks you up. So I'm like, damn. And he said he's seen it in healthy young people and fucking old people.
He said your immune system doesn't fight it, or doesn't notify
No,
it, or something like
he
that.
says it keeps on fighting it. It doesn't know when to stop fighting it.
Okay.
And like I guess that bursts blood vessels around the lungs or in the lungs, which is causing people to not breathe.
Yeah.
So it was like because I told him, Doc, I got a healthy immune system. And he's like, yeah, because it really doesn't matter. He's like, that might be worse. Even stronger immune system might fuck you up even more.
Yeah. Really. Yeah, well.
But it's weird. Like I don't know. You know what I mean? So nobody knows what decision to make.
At least the kilowatts had the sense to stay away. They knew that. Come visit us next year. Screw that. Yeah, we'll go someplace else now.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know, like, when this thing ends, you know what I'm saying? It's out of a book. Nobody knows. Nobody knows what the next phase is. If there is it going to come back?
Yeah. That's all. Yeah, that seems all true.
It's a little scary. Like, what if it doesn't go away? You know what I mean? The fucking world is doomed.
Well, who knows? There's a lot. I was Sam Harris does a podcast called Making Sense. He did one yesterday or the day before with a guy that wrote a book about existential threats, and which is like threats to the existence of humanity. He's an Oxford scientist that he had interviewed. He talked about like things like meteors and other non-human influenced or made events having a much lower, way lower probability of being an existential event. In other words, really hitting us hard or affecting humanity than these man-made things like environmental threats and nuclear threats and even
pandemic threats.
Yeah, because because we do influence what's going on now. We do. I was I mean, how about we look at this like maybe this isn't all just one crazy cacophony of random events. What if
Is it to never end? You know what I mean? That's the weird thing, that not knowing what's on the other side. Life was so predictable in some ways. I mean, we all know that we die at some point, but we know if we wake up tomorrow, what tomorrow's going to be. Now we don't even know what tomorrow looks like.
Yeah, I definitely see that and see what you mean by that, and I can relate. I mean, there's this other part of like. There's this part of like moving through time that is every bit as unpredictable now as it was before, because hey, who the hell knows, right? I mean, who the hell knows tomorrow any more than who the hell knew tomorrow before this whole COVID thing? But
I'm sorry. I don't mind listening to fantasy up to a point, but after a while, then I have to stop.
all right. So,
Okay, look,
what's on your mind?
South Korea has virtually no COVID. There's several countries Japan has virtually no COVID. How is that possible that we have a quarter of the Earth's deaths?
Because we don't give a shit about
Each other.
Affecting each other.
No, each other.
Yeah, each other.
Okay, and that comes from the top down.
Yeah.
Well, what you don't have in your head, you can have in your heels, is what my grandpappy used to tell me. So do what you got to do. But it's not a matter that we can't control this. We can. We just haven't. We've been jackasses about it. We've done everything except control it.
Yeah. I tell you, I don't know. I mean, like they talked at the first that all this was about was bending a curve.
Yes, it was. But the thing is that they didn't really. When you had people like the governor of Florida and the governor of Arizona and the governor of Texas bending to what Trump said was good for the economy rather than listening to the frickin' science, you knew that this was going to happen. This is a given. Wait for Oklahoma. Wait for Phoenix. Wait to find out whether Trump's aides or even Trump himself got infected in that damn silly ass thing in Phoenix, and if he didn't, if Pence did. This is a dangerous bug, and we're treating it like as if we can't do anything about it. Yeah, we could do stuff about it. It's not impossible. We can protect ourselves from it. We just aren't, because we're not seeing the danger. We're not seeing the reality. We're not seeing what's actually there. What we're saying is that, well, we can make it up any way we want to. I'm good. I'm young. I don't care.
Yeah.
Business is important. I can't afford to stay closed anymore. Yep, I agree that's true. But can you open responsibly? Well, 100 people in a bar. Christ, yeah. I mean, I couldn't stop them. They just keep coming in. I don't know what to do. What do you want me to do? They were all thirsty, and I was making money, dude. What do you want?
Yeah.
We could do something about that. We just didn't. That's all. It's okay. We just didn't do it. That's on us. It's not on fate or anything else. It's on us. We're stupid.
Yeah. I look at the reports out of Brazil, and I see a remarkable similarity between a lack of paying attention to facts in that country and in ours.
It's the same mindset. The president of Brazil did exactly the same thing as Trump did. He said, "Hey, it's going to go away." In fact, he read Trump's book. Trump wrote a book about it. I don't know if you read that or not, but Trump wrote a book about it, and everybody said, "Look, it's going to go away in April." Well, it's not. Is it April yet? Because it hadn't gone away. So maybe he was talking about a different April than I was thinking about. I don't know, because it kind of like mañana here in Mexico, I guess, huh? April. Who knows which April?
So what do we see now? What do we what do we see? How do
you cover your own ass is what you do now, and you start paying attention to what it is that got us here, and you start changing it one person at a time. Otherwise, we're going to stay right where we are forever. That's the only options.
Okay.
But don't take my word for it. Christ, do whatever you want to do. But that's what got us here to begin with. So why not go for it? Yeah. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, how's that for putting it on everybody's plate?
I'll tell you, in some way, he's right. In Italy, or Europeans. Bro, they you couldn't leave the house. One person had to go out and go get food. If not, they'd shoot you.
Yes,
that's not America.
There was an entire town in Italy where everybody got it, and they all quarantined and ended it. They just ended it. They just said, "No, we're stopping it right here," and they did.
Yeah.
Okay. I have some questions for you guys. You ready?
Okay.
I think
you want me to
good
shut
one.
up now?
Yeah, here goes. Really for everybody. I think you'll all enjoy this. Let's get the tools up there, kind of the tracing where we've been, because we're at the tool of seeing now, if that's even a tool. I know, John, you say, well, maybe it's a tool, but maybe it's really more of an application of everything that came before. But I want to visually show you where we've been, okay? And then
Ken, before you enter into that, can I just add one more comment that Nicole said here?
please.
She says it causes a cytokine storm in the immune system and attacks both the vascular system and the autonomic nervous system as well. Crazy. Collectivist versus individualist cultures.
Yep. I that's right on the mark. Yep. That's what we're talking about. Okay. Well, okay, so here we are in our rugged individualist ways. Fuck everybody else, and we've been through all of these tools on the left-hand side here. We're in the last one here, seeing, which we started last night. Next, we'll move into the functions, starting, I guess, with tomorrow's class in B1. But let's take a look at, like, okay, so we started with programming. Now that we've just set up a situation that's going on right now that we're headed for some trouble, how does the tool of programming apply to this? How's this? Who has any idea why that would even be relevant to this discussion? What you thinking? Why? Why would you like this whole thing we're setting up here with, what was it, Bolsonaro in Brazil and Trump here, and screw it, we're Americans, we get to do whatever we want, kind of attitude that's out there and pretty prevalent. Where does programming come into that? Why would I care? What does this discussion we're having in the last 3 weeks have to do with this COVID thing? What do you guys think? What do you think, Ralph? You have any comment on that?
I feel like there's the COVID thing hits a bunch of these things. Like not doing, we definitely did not do. I don't think anybody really played their part with the not doing. Social distancing, brutal honesty with ourselves.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's another one.
Let's just stop on like not doing. So not doing, as we talked about, seems like a non-action, but it is an action. It's an action like every man and woman for him or herself is an action. Did we do a not doing, like, support people or take care of neighbors or protect everyone? That would be a...
I mean, like, I think people on we did some, but it's funny how some people are able to do more than others. And the people that were not doing, precisely, that's what we needed to kind of curb, I think, was like what John was saying. But everybody was doing not enough, like, or not doing, like, it lasted not too long. And then everybody wanted to go see,
Yeah, we got tired of, doing, well, I don't even know that I can even go that far, I mean, it seems that people just didn't really care. It's hard for me, in other words, to say that, yep, we did it, and we just then about faced. In some sense that seems true because there was a lockdown, but in a lot of ways, what we're describing here as the issues that have gotten into this mess are all along this tool thing, in terms of, how...
I've been a really good kid, so don't I get a gold star, at least a bar of candy or some ice cream?
You get to go outside now and fuck everybody up, dude. You've just won.
Oh, good for me. I need to go out to the bar. What kind of harm can a little drinky poo do? I mean, really?
Well, that just has that ring to me of programming. Maybe because everything that comes out of everybody's mouth ought to have a ring of programming. I don't know.
So the entire country is filled with 3-year-olds throwing fits called riots.
Yes.
Not exactly. There are a lot of 3-year-olds, and there are a lot of people who got up into high school and did college and even graduated and became adults and said, you know, we have to do things differently here. We can't be killing black people on the streets while the murderer looks defiantly at people filming him, and while he's saying, "Fuck you, I'm a cop. I do what the fuck I want." That's not a 3-year-old. That's somebody that needs to be, well, I don't know, paddled or something, but not as a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Maybe when he was 3, he should have been paddled, but now it's a little late. But we do have a lot of 3-year-olds. We have a lot of 3-year-olds running around with AR-15s and those kinds of things, saying, "I'm important. My race is important. And that makes me important." Now stop it. And
All right.
you know, okay, that's fair. I can't argue with them about that they're important. I can't argue with that their race is important. But nor can I argue with the other side that their race is important and that they are important. Both things are true, and they can both be true at the same time. They're not mutually exclusive.
Hold on. If I didn't miss that one, I think where you just went with that is that you can actually have a way of looking at things that take into account how other people look at things. Would that be like moving the assemblage point thing you just kind of passed over there?
Yeah, that's the kind of thing it is.
Okay.
Yeah, but don't you think racism is programmed? I mean, that's a program.
Of course it is, and not only is it programmed, it's a closely held belief. It's a belief about who I am and what I am. It's not even a program; it's a belief. It is a self-meta program.
Yeah. It's deeply ingrained.
Okay, how do you take that out? You have a civil war, and that didn't do it. How many people died in that?
Yeah.
That wasn't enough. We're still fighting that right now.
That's the same. It's the same fight. I mean, this country has
Okay.
not evolved
right.
in a lot of ways.
Okay. Well, but let's not get all finger pointing here, because here's the thing. You know, the Greeks and the Romans had slaves too. The Persians had slaves. The Israelis had slaves. The Egyptians had slaves. Cultures have had slaves for as long as there's been cultures. This is one of the first cultures that did not have slaves. And we're fighting about it still, about whether we can have slaves or not. Economically, it's a good idea.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. But spiritually and physically, it's a bad idea. And so therefore, if it is that people don't want to be enslaved, then they're going to have to discipline themselves to pay attention to what it is that makes money. Because rather than saying, okay, you have to take care of me like I'm a slave, you can't do that and then say that you don't want to be treated like a slave, because that defines slavery.
That's true. That's right. So
okay, so which way do we want it here? Do we want to have our cake, or do we want to eat the damn cake? You know, it doesn't make any difference. You can have one or the other, but you can't really have your cake and eat it too. That it just doesn't work out good like that. You know, try it. You'll either have cake or you'll eat it. One or the other.
That potentially controversial point, I don't think is as controversial as it might have sounded. At least it could. Let me just say it this way. I had somebody come in here this past weekend, boyfriend, girlfriend, came into float. She wouldn't take a step without his approval. She would not. And he gladly told her what she needed to do. Okay? But the point is that that's a two-way thing there. Like for her, who came in here to see that she insists on that. I don't want to call it slavery, but man, it gets awfully close into that ballpark of take care of me and tell me what to do.
Okay, but you with a guy and a girl, you got to be careful with that, because sometimes they both get off on that crap. That can be the basis of the relationship as well.
Yeah, like
you can't be judgmental about it. You got to find out. You can't be judgmental. Okay, please. Okay.
Go ahead. Pam, is that you? that's piping in there.
Yes, that's me.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Something else you wanted to?
No, that's what I was saying. There's all that undefined, that, like what John's saying about relationships, like if that's working for them, that's comfort for her, that's comfort for him, that works.
Yep.
It only doesn't work if she's feeling like a slave and doesn't like that situation or whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
I think like with the black population, a lot of the population is like what John's saying, they're still waiting to not be slaves, and
Well, the
but
thing
they're
is
undereducated, they're not given
no,
the,
it isn't that really. They still are slaves.
yes, I guess in their, somewhere in their minds, they're still slaves.
No, kiddo. Really, they're still slaves. Really, that you got to understand that difference. If you're living in the hood, whatever the fuck that means. I've never lived in the hood. I don't speak that language, so I don't know what that means. But that we can loosely refer that to living.
Well,
in
it's the same like a ghetto, where it's all the same community.
Yeah, it's a predominantly black neighborhood, or black and brown neighborhood.
Right.
Say,
Okay.
All right. Now, if you live there, then your community concepts are that of being oppressed, because everybody there is being oppressed one way or the other. If you get a job, it's because you're clawing your way out. If you don't get a job, it's because the man doesn't want you to get a job, etc. Because that's how the community itself holds itself together and holds itself up. That's a true thing. Okay. Is
well,
it right?
it's a true thing, and is whether it's true or not, I think at the same time, you're talking about not even giving them a chance to grow out of that, because they're not given the education, they're not given any facility to change
but it has to start with the elimination of the systemic racial idea.
Yes.
It's in the system itself.
Yeah.
Okay, the system says that the black child shall not be educated. The system says that a black man may not look at a white woman. The system says that white women better not be looking at no black men, and so on and so forth. The system says all those nice things, okay? The system says that, whatever. Okay, because we have systems in place, including welfare, including the DMV, including government jobs, all kinds of things like that encourage people to remain slaves.
Yes. I mean, it's not like that in other countries, but it's like that here in this country.
It is in lots of countries. I mean, Pam, you're not typical.
Well, I grew up in Canada.
Well, it's not that, girlfriend. I mean, I know that you grew up in Canada, but who do you work for?
Me.
Oh, yeah. Well, how many women can say that, Pammy?
Okay, I gotcha.
Okay. You fall into a category that is relatively unusual and rare. A woman who just doesn't give a shit about being anybody's slave or anybody or being beholding to anybody. And so you scare the living crap out of every guy that comes around because you're an unknown.
Yeah.
Okay. If you scare them, kiddo, you don't want them around.
I know, right?
Really. Just, hey, do I scare you? Oh, good. Are you running now? Okay. See ya.
Right. It's more like they're running from me.
Well, you're applauding them. You say, "All right."
I'm saying thank you.
God bless America. I don't have to put up with your ass another minute. Thank you.
Right.
Well,
I'm sorry, Ken.
But I'm also, because I've created this for myself, I get it. Like I get that's not available to the Black community at all. You know, the education system is so poor.
You know what? But it isn't that really. It's the idea that they don't have to con their way through life. I've met a couple of Black men in the last, I don't know, a few years, and they both left indelible impressions on me, and pretty much for the same reason. One of them had worked for Microsoft, and he was involved with a project, and they had to get this project done. Everybody on the team got $1 million. They got it done on time. Okay, they got it done ahead of time, so they made more than $1 million. I mean, it was just they lived there to get it done.
Right.
Okay. And it's like 9 months of his time, and he's a millionaire. Okay, now he was beginning to realize $1 million doesn't go very far, but still in all, he earned $1 million in less than a year. But the thing is that he could not find a place where he could be happy.
Why?
He just could not find. Well, he tried to do it in Ajijic, but the gringos there dealt with him like he was Black. He tried to do it in Jocotepec, but he didn't speak enough Spanish where people couldn't accept him for who he was. And besides, he put on airs because he was a millionaire, right? And so he isolated himself into a reality that he couldn't escape from. And he thought it was because people were talking to him because he was Black. The other guy that did the same thing was the reset guy. What was his name, Ken?
John.
Yeah. You know, he was so angry about being Black, but you couldn't talk to him about it. I mean, the guy was furious that everybody talked to him about being Black, or they talked about his past and all this kind of stuff, right? And it's like, look, dude, don't talk about it. I'm not interested in talking to you about it. I'm interested in you understanding where you came from and how you got there. That's it. It was really hard for him to see that.
Yeah.
In fact, he didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I don't know that he saw it.
Yeah. Make that point again. You're saying that he was angry because of what?
But he'd grown up in I think in Kansas City, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, and he'd grown up in a Black neighborhood, and he'd done pretty well. I mean, Kansas City is not particularly prejudiced. I mean, there's room for a Black man to live and grow in Kansas City. Not a lot, but there is. Okay, and he had done well there. But the thing is he had fallen on hard times and had gone bankrupt, and so that bankruptcy bothered him because he knew what he was doing. But the thing is he knew it in his head. He didn't know it in terms of experience. He knew he knew the recipe, but he didn't necessarily have the experience. And he kept missing it because he was Black. And he was pissed off about that. He said, "Why can't I see this?" Your heart goes out to the guy because you can see why he can't see it, but telling him, man, that's hard to do. Because that's a lifetime of just awful intensity that this kid has had to endure. And so breaking through that to tell him he's okay is really tough.
Yeah, I remember one of the things that really shook him was that you had said something like, "Hey, John, instead of seeing everything in terms of you being free from it, how about see things that you're free to do things so that you can get yourself to do, what you need to do."
Yeah.
He was like, first he was like this, and then he was like, "Oh shit. Yeah, that's a whole other way to look at that."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens in a lot of places, but
Yeah.
that was at a surface level. And, that guy runs really deep. He's a smart guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm enough of old times.
No, this is seems like we launched into this in current times too. I don't.
Well, I can surely understand the frustration of Black people. I think I've told this story before, but when I went to Atlanta, I in between school. I worked for a year in Atlanta with Ma Bell, Baby Bell in Atlanta. And I went in at the same time as a Black kid, and we were the same age within a month or so, and we had the same education. But then, then you know, he went to different schools, and I went to, but we had essentially the same educations. And he started as a repair guy, and I started as a PBX installer.
Yeah, I think you told the story right. Yeah,
Yeah,
you doing
and so
branch exchange.
yeah, but he told me one time. He told me one time that when he was 12 years old, he couldn't drink from the same water fountain that I could. Now, you know, that's in my lifetime. You know, and it's like there's a lot of people who have been affected and who were treated from that way. I mean, just because the law changed didn't mean that all the white people in the town he grew up didn't look at him with the same glare in their eyes.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah. That's a different. Boy, that's a different experience.
Okay, so here's my point about this. Okay, it's like, do I think that either one of those men were wrong in what they were doing? No, Ken, I don't. I wish the fuck that I could be able to reach across to get that divide and talk to them, though. I really do. I wish I knew how to do that, but I don't. You know, I've tried, and maybe I'm older and wiser, and maybe I can do it now. But at the time, I couldn't. Okay, I just didn't have enough skill to reach across, or enough understanding to be able to reach across that and to calm any of those nerves, because every time that I would cut, I'm a white guy. I got to be dangerous to that guy.
Yeah, and that's where it came out. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know the other guy, but I remember with John, that's what it came down to, because you had laid out for him really where this anger was, and like almost like, you know, really met intensity with intensity about, are you going to put it down? And he wouldn't put it down. But at least, you know, that was, you know.
I don't know that he could at the time. Okay, but here's the thing, Ken. You know, I would have been remiss with me.
Yeah.
If I hadn't taken that time to have that gesture with the guy. I could see that, and so therefore I had to address it.
Yeah.
Failure or not failure, I don't know. Probably failure, miserable failure. The guy probably hates my guts forever and a day. I don't blame him.
Yep.
But the thing is that, you know, it isn't that because I don't like the guy. It's because I'm too ignorant to be able to help him.
Yeah. Or it's not because you went up there and didn't swing, you know, with the best swing you had. And
No, that's there ain't no use to going up to bat if you're not going to do that, is there?
So we said earlier, you know, and I think when Ralph and I were in this banter and posing, where do we go from here, or what do we see? And I think I heard you say, like, one at a time, you know, really, because this is we're in a really interesting, dangerous place here.
Yeah, we are. And it's like, see, you know, Ken, see, to me, that's the whole thing about why it is that you want to bring people down for weekend or class or whatever it is that you were talking about there. The reason why you want to do that is so that you can get them out of their place for a little bit and talk to them in a place where they don't have any threats and everything is great for them.
Yeah.
So that they can get down underneath those horrible scaries that they all carry. I mean, these black guys aren't the only guys that carry those scaries. You carried them. I carried them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Ralph carries them. I'm sure Greg carries them. I know that Pam's carried them. I watched Pam beat some of them down. I know for sure she did. I know how she did it even.
Yeah.
I've watched Elise do that.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not that it can't be done. It can be. But you know what? It is a lot of work. It really is.
Okay. Fair point. That if I thought there was an easier alternative, I would say, thank you very much, John. I've got an idea, but as they say, I'm thinking a lot about what I'm learning here too. And I, you know, for good, bad, or worse, getting shit done, especially of this magnitude, is work. You know, I don't see quick fixes with this here.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. You know, whenever I think about getting work done and so forth, I always think about things like D11 caterpillar bulldozers. You know, let's get some work done. You want that mountain out of the way? Okay, shit. Oh, wait a minute. I'll take care of it for you. Yeah.
That's a heavy piece of machinery, but yeah. Hey, Ken, could you unmute Pat's mic? Sorry, a little bit of a tongue twister there, but could you do that, please?
I already did, Jenny.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Hey, Pat.
Hey, Ken.
How you doing?
So are we talking to
I'm doing
Pat or
well.
to
How are
Mike?
you?
Doing good. What do you think about the stuff John and I are talking about and everybody else?
Carrying them scaries around?
What's that?
Carrying them scaries around? Is that what you guys were talking about?
I'm
My
not.
fair share of that, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that. If people carry scaries around, then shame on them. I mean, when the kids were in high school, they had to carry eggs around. I suppose they're the same things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you have to take care of it the same way, right? Oh, it's my scary. It's my own personal scary. It's my precious. Yeah, okay, cool. But, if that's what melts your butter, I'm good.
Yeah. Get that, Pat? All right.
I'm a meanie. Okay, I shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Now that's all right. Pat. The more I get to know Pat, the more I see that I'm not surprised that Pat found me and we found each other. Because I can see.
Isn't it funny how that happens?
Yeah. Well, I can see where you twist yourself up. I mean, John's talking about stories about literally going to battle for someone. Best swing to get to see if the person is if that communication is gonna land. I think it'll land no matter what, but maybe it's a question of whether somebody's gonna be stewing about it for a day, a week, or the rest of their life. It's gonna land. You tell me, Pat, what's the alternative there? I can tell you from my experience, dancing, soft shoeing, smiles, polite smiles, bowing out. Wow, that's been devastating to me. Just absolutely devastating. It's just it kept the frustration at DEFCON 5 levels for me without taking it and like expressing it out there and just this is what's on my mind. I think
You got to throw it out there.
Well, I think you're
Right?
starting that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to see where it goes. The only way to see where it goes is to start with the communication, right?
Yep.
What is there to be afraid of?
Yeah. What? Really? I mean, that we started this discussion about where we're at and where we're at. I mean, societally, what the hell is going on here? How do we even talk about this danger place we're in? And more to the point, where do we go? Because this seeing thing is, sounds really nice, but when you get right down to it, you got to pick up a shovel, or if you're going to dig a hole, or you're going to have to jump on a tractor if you're going to plow a field. I'm really at the extent now of my farm language. I'm going to have to bring Jenny in here for any more farm metaphors. I'm pretty close to the end of my white Jewish kid upbringing. Doesn't involve farming. I'm maxed out.
You know what dirt is, though, right?
Once or twice. Yes.
Oh, okay, you've got to start then.
Yep. I was at the bank one day and someone else came in and they had dirt on their fingernails and I asked them what else. And they said, "Oh, I
Yeah,
forgot."
okay. Yeah, there you go. It was part of their garden that they brought in just for you.
All right. What do we do? Communication is a big part of this. If what we're talking about here, I hear you, John. It's a getting down there or getting out of my everydays here and the things that take my attention every day has been a good thing for me. It just has been. It's just been. It's like an unplug in, and then I can pay attention in a concentrated way to what's going on. That I think is a benefit alone in my coming down to visit you. I think Pat would probably agree with that. He's still unliked. Okay. Hey, Terry, let me finish the thought out. So let's go back and, I want to see that chart again, because as we're wrapping up the tools here, I think it's a good way to retrace for everybody what ground we've covered in the last, 16, 17 days. And in particular, how these tools are, well, they're applicable to, what's going on in your life. From a big macro point of view, look at what's going on with us. But from a more in your own family or in your own head, every single one of these things is a way to describe the workings of how you think. And so you can plot a way out of that, or something, however it is to you, that works better, whatever that means. Deal with your programming. All right, sounds like a pretty good idea, especially if you got some 3-year-old programming. The hell is the other person saying? What are they trying to say? What's my boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, colleague? What are they trying to say? Well, maybe if I move my assemblage point, I can see what they say. Why would I want to do that? Well, because if I don't know what they're saying, how am I going to be in harmony with them? How do I even get to there? Well, you got to bring communication in there. That's where communication happens. You're not going to just, you're probably not going to intuit or through osmosis figure that out. That's where communication comes in. Hey, what was that? What do you mean there? What's that about, really? What's that? Is that how you see it? How do I see it? Look, I'm just trying to say, this is what, oh, that's what you're trying to say? You sure it's that? Yeah, it really takes place like that. Oh, yeah, I can see a difference now in what is going on with me, even now that I do that. So if I can see a difference in what's going on with me, I got a pretty good glimpse at how I do my shit, just like you'll get a glimpse at how you do your shit, whatever that means. Ralph likes not doing. I like it too. It's been really powerful and potent because it's the way it's the way you break the chain. You've been involved. Just think about it. You guys do the same shit all the time. I don't care what you say, because I did that too. You do that. People do that. They are way more robotic and predictable than what people think. But you don't have to be. You could break those chains and those things. Why would you want to do something different? Well, if you do something different, then you get to see, oh, wow, I do different, I get a different result. You get to see how your mind works. You get to see what's kind of the natural expression of how mind works. Does any of this shit that we're talking about work here if you're not also honest with yourself? That's we talked about brutal honesty. Just think about if that one's not in play. You got everything else in play, sort of, but, you kid yourself about things. You talk to people like I used to talk to people for my own, put myself on a pedestal. Well, there's a hitch in the get along there, as they say. That, you're not going to be met with too much people saying, sign me up, when you're not honest about what it is that you're doing. That's why brutal honesty is with yourself. Direct knowing, what was that about? That was about knowing. That was about, how do we really know? We talked about things like, people who, people thinking that they, that they know something when they only think it. Well, how much of that's going on now? How do we really know? I think that's what John was talking about earlier, about all these fantasies that are abounding out there. He jumped on Ralph and I and said, yeah, I've had enough about fantasies here. He said, I know this and I know how I know it. And then we had a conversation literally for the next 20 minutes that had a lot to do with knowing shit, you know, not just surmising or guessing, actually taking out those thoughts and testing whether you have the parts of knowing. Have you had experience behind them? You know, is it just something you think? And now we've been talking about the last of these tools. You know, I know that John in the book talks about seeing as maybe not so much a tool, you know, as a kind of a culmination of what you do when you use these other tools. And that's kind of where I started this. Where do we go? You know, I'm with what we said earlier. I think it's really, you know, we deal with ourselves, because, you know, when we deal with ourselves and how we, then, you know, then we're changing our generations and generations to come. What do you guys think? What do you think, Jenny or Vanessa or Elise?
I think that the fact that I'm using those to just, you know, raise the kids, I think that I'm helping society in a way that, you know, we're not going to have a bunch of millennials, you know, walking around saying I can't do something. Well, you're just lazy. You know, it's not that you can't do it, you know? So, I don't know, just, for me, I think it's been very beneficial to go through, like, this is our second time going through this, and I mean, we've talked about it, and every time we cover each point, I think it grows a little bit more, and I think that everybody that has read the book has the same experience, so I think that even going through each one and discussing them have been very more beneficial for us, and I think that you have said that same thing, right, Ken?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. This is, you know, I once heard John say years ago that the Office of Shaman was like, and I could see how this would be true. He's like, that's just a beginner book, which I can, you know, I can see how he could say it, but, you know, you can dive into these things pretty deep, where they take on different dimensions. Is, you know, they just like everything, you know. I mean, think about, you know, for me, the tool of programming or moving the assemblage point, or communication, or differences or not doing. As you get in and pick up tools, well, you get more proficient with it. You know, I see some lawyers that can do things with their tools that I just marvel at. It's like, how the fuck do you do that? And that comes from an accumulation of practice, of being out there and actually doing it. Unless somebody here can tell me another way that you can actually get better at something, I think, you know, that's where we kind of started this whole talk with all you folks out there. We're like, look, here's a bunch of tools, use them, don't use them. But I think you'll find, if you're like me, you get what you put in, you know, and I don't even say that with any judgment. It's just, you know, how much do you want to use them?
Well, I would have to say that for myself, using the tools have literally changed the trajectory of my children's lives. So, in terms of what you were talking about, or about the generations coming down the pike,
Yeah.
I feel like my brutal honesty and all my differences and changing my assemblage point, all the direct knowing and all the tools have really worked to help change the direction or the trajectory of my children's lives.
Yeah, I can see from my perspective too that that's true. Yeah, I have 4, and 2 of them I raised before I even knew the first thing about programming. Third one kind of was still at home while I was starting a float center, and the 4th one, I'm getting a little bit better.
Right. It's all a learning curve.
Yep. I think probably Vanessa probably shares that too. Yeah.
Amen.
Yep.
And
Okay.
Hey, Ken?
Yeah. Hey,
You know,
Pat.
something I've been thinking about, like, something I've been thinking about lately is, you know, it's it's like solving a puzzle, and we're building a building, and this is your cheat sheet or your blueprints on how to do that. That's how it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a way that you'd see it, and I agree. Yeah, it's
Pat, that really is a good description for it, because I look at it as a map or as a like you're saying a blueprint. It doesn't tell you anything itself other than to say there's walls here and there's foundations and columns and stuff, but you can't really visualize what that is when you look down at the blueprint. Well, you can. I can't. I see blue lines and say, "The hell is this?"
yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah.
I look at that and I say, "Wow, that's cool." Wonder what the hell it is. But but because you know what that is, you can visualize where it goes to. I feel exactly the same way when people are talking to me about this concept here. It's like I know what the architectural plan looks like, and I can tell you what the finished product is supposed to look like, but I can't tell you what it's going to look like, because that depends on the owner and the developer and the people with the money and all the other stuff, right? They're going to change some of that. They're going to change some of it. They just not understand the artistic nature of my being. That's all there is to it. They're going to want to be practical and save bucks. I mean, the very idea. Okay.
Yeah, John, sometimes you got to draw things, and then you got to draw them again, and then you got to keep drawing them until you get it to that point where it's, oh yeah, all right, this seems right.
Yeah,
and that little issue I was that little one of those issues
beyond that, then you've got to get somebody else to understand that this is right now. Yeah. Go ahead, Pat.
Well, I mean, is it right or wrong? I mean, that's open for interpretation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Jenny, are you around? That's all right if you're not. I know you got William you're taking care of.
Kind of. I'm around. I've got William and my friend Vicky's over too. So.
Okay. I would think on this like having a kid, just all is probably Pam's and Vanessa's point. I'm curious whether that
Oh, it's made a huge difference in understanding how, because, well, I do rewrites, right? So it's been interesting seeing the development of how a child like William, I mean, I've had him since he was 9 months old. And I mean, he's in the talking stage now, and it's been a hell of a learning curve as seeing what adults do versus what a young growing biocomputer's like,
Yep.
So.
Yep. How what you do.
Oh yeah, they mimic.
Lays the framework for what he's going to do.
Yep. And I think about all the programs that I've seen and witnessed and also have rewritten for myself. If they were still in place, what and how they would affect William, because I've seen it in my own family and how it's played out for me and my brothers,
Yeah.
Made a huge difference.
Yeah, an application of this tool of seeing. You see how things play out.
And the agreements that I've had with my family and ones that I'm still rummaging through even, so.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about that. I know that you think lots about family held agreements and how they have played out and continue to play out. Me too. Cool. How you doing tonight, Greg Tully? You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
How's it going?
It's going all right.
Yeah, what's up? You have a sort of maybe not going all right thing in your voice, but maybe I'm just reading it, you know. You all right, dude?
So my wife's getting a knee replacement tomorrow.
Okay.
43 years old.
Okay. That's probably,
You know, I don't know what's gonna happen after that. You know, I'm hoping everything's gonna be okay, but
Yep.
you know, I'm sure it will.
Yep.
Hey, Greg, I
Yeah.
got a story for you on that one, okay? I had a friend
Yeah.
in Pasadena, okay, his family had been interned in a Japanese internment, and
Right.
he'd become a gardener after he got out, right? And he had uptown clients. I mean, the guy did all right. Don't misunderstand. He said one morning, though, he drove up to a place and he started to pick up his lawnmower, and before he could get it out the truck and down on the ground, both knees popped. They both broke. He had them both replaced. And I said, well, how do you feel now? And he stood up and started dancing. Don't worry about it too much, okay, guy? I mean, yeah, I understand. You have to be concerned, okay? But trust me, she's going to feel way better, and so is everybody around her when she gets that done, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I think she will be. I think she'll be feeling better, and everybody around her will be feeling better. But it's still,
yeah, of course. No, don't worry
it's
about
gonna be
it.
a
That's
tough
really
road.
look. You're going to have to wait on her hand and foot because she's a chick and she's going to demand that. But that's all right. That's the reason why you married her, so you can do that shit. So go ahead and go for it. You know, might as well enjoy it. You know, this is your best chance at it right now. You can say yes, I'm going to serve you love, but at my own rate. And she can't do anything about it except laugh. You know, that's her only option. Now, if you can be that damn silly with her, it'll all go really quick and she'll feel better real quick, okay?
Here, totally. Yep, I agree.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, get that sadness out of your voice. She doesn't need to hear that shit. You know, she needs to hear it. She said, hey, babe, things will be all right. Yeah, you're going to be a pain in the ass for the next month and a half, 2 months. You can get up and walk again. But you're going to be a pain in the ass, and I know. But you know what? That's the reason why I love you, Bubby. And I'll take care of you when I get damn good and ready. Damn good and ready. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, Greg?
Yeah, that's what I've done. Great.
All righty.
Go ahead.
I gotta go to another thing. So
Yeah,
I'm gone. Bye, guys.
I just have one more thing. Hey, Terry, let's go back to the chart again with the tools and the functions, because I want to, before we break for tonight, I want to show everybody now where we're going. We've now finished our discussion of part 1 of the book, The Tools, and we're going to start tomorrow with the functions. What do you think we're starting? B1. Notice how B1 is across from programming. And harmony, which we'll go to after, is across from moving the assemblage point. What that means is that programming is a tool which releases the energy governed by B1 function. Moving your assemblage point is a tool that releases the energy governed by harmony function, and so on. And what we'll show you too is we'll start to bring in that playing field thing. So you'll start to see graphically or geographically how this all plays together. Or as Pat Jones said, how he uses it, or Pam, how she uses it. This is a way to really thought structure to hang everything that you do in the conversations you have. Well, really, it's about relationships and agreements, because that's what we're really talking about here. So when we come back tomorrow, we'll pick up with B1 function, read the chapter, ask a question on Slack if you have it, and I'll see you all tomorrow night at 8. How's that sound?
Sounds good. Good night, Ken.
Sounds great, Ken. Thanks.
Good night.
See you.
Thanks, Ken.
See you.